Now you may be curious as to why. When you experience a sense of relief, you have a strong tendency to purse your lips and slowly blow out a big lungful of air. Maybe even say, "Phew," or "Ah," often followed by another deep breath, followed by a pause and another slow breath out, sometimes with a smile and a Or now you may be curious to see if you breathe like that, whether it also happens the other way around. Now perhaps you can find it interesting how some people, rather than expect to feel completely comfortable flying in an aeroplane, expect the worst is about to happen, when so far the worst thing that has happened is how they feel because they expect the worst is about to happen, even though they logically know it won't. Or perhaps you're curious why some people get more anxious or more scared when they feel they are having trouble not being anxious or scared of something that is in no danger of happening. And when thinking about people who are anxious or fearful about something like heights or flying, I wonder if your thoughts have ever turned to whether that feeling starts in the body and the mind can, at first, be completely calm and relaxed, or whether the stress hormone adrenaline released into the bloodstream can start a vicious cycle with anxiety, unless used up by exercising, as nature intended, or counteracted by calming endorphins, also released by exercise or calm breathing. Perhaps if you were a person with chronic anxiety, you could go skydiving, which is more physically demanding than it looks. And of course, you can be confident as you jump out of an aeroplane with a parachute, you will focus your mind very powerfully on the present moment and easily dispel your ruminations about what might happen. But what could a person who is anxious about flying do to dispel their flying anxiety and fear of heights? Now there are things you can control and things you can't. And that reminds me of a story of a train driver who suffered from chronic anxiety. Ironic, since his job was to make his passengers feel completely safe from the start of the journey to the finish. He felt anxious mostly over things he had no control over, like train arrival time delays due to weather conditions or debris on the tracks. So he decided to take control over what he could and exercise the stress and anxiety-induced adrenaline out by running during the pause when his train reached the end of the line. The pause was only 3 minutes, so, travelling by foot, he casually walked a 1-minute journey to a nearby park, then sprinted for 30 seconds away from the train, rapidly leaving the stress far behind. Then he calmly walked back to his train, walking on air, refreshed and on time. And he claimed he used his adrenaline for a useful purpose, good exercise, and became stress-free, feeling happy to be alive for a full day, sometimes 2 days each time after the vigorous exercise. Now you may be interested to hear about a young teenager who was suffering from the same problem could find nothing to distract her from her anxiety, and lost all interest in all the things that most people can enjoy, until she had the experience of taking herself off to a peaceful but enthusiastic climate change demonstration, complete with placards and other objects, flying through the air and landing safely on the ground. And she defied official orders to move on. She was a fighter and got herself arrested for her trouble. She got locked in a jail cell for a few hours and found the experience lifted her spirits. She felt like a very powerful eagle, and she was surprised to find out that her family were quite supportive and very proud of her. Her anxiety levels dropped markedly, and she had finally found a passion to take her own focus away from herself. Now perhaps you can feel some sympathy for one fairly timid young man who was rather averse to running, let alone fighting, and who definitely wasn't quite as brave, and tried taking a deep breath by pushing out his abdomen and then holding his breath until he thought he would die from oxygen starvation, which of course is impossible because it can't be done. So he breathed out very slowly instead. He had no choice, and found that calmed him down, almost happy and relaxed, releasing endorphins and nullifying his adrenaline. He wasn't planning it or doing it on purpose, but apparently exhaling is linked to the parasympathetic nervous system, which influences our body's ability to relax and calm down. Which explains why people in the know air travelling out slowly from the lungs allows increased relaxation during stretching exercises. And I wonder if you're curious to discover, when you embrace future anxiety as natural and useful, how you can feel completely calm and relaxed thinking or talking about that. And it may be possible that, in the future, you can be confident that when you push out your abdomen, hold your breath, then breathe out very slowly and calmly, you can relax, because you know you have many other techniques to expel excess tension and anxiety quickly and easily and send them flying. You can have fun doing it in different ways, in different situations, and wonderful things can happen when you're in control of what you focus on. Now, in relation to an issue you've been thinking about lately, I'd like to remind you about how you felt a little while ago while you were relaxing with a cool drink on a hot summer day at the beach. Or perhaps it was as a child with a hot drink in front of a warm log fire on a winter evening. If you could just remember when it was, or which was the most relaxing. And as you think about that, it makes you take a deep breath, yawn, and kind of sigh slowly. And as you do that, your breathing is slowing down. Your pulse is slowing down. Your face is looking kind of soft and relaxed, a pleasant, happy appearance. And your eyelids are getting heavy. And maybe they feel like closing. And you can just let them close if you want to. That's right. And just focus on that scene, perhaps when you're flying a kite. high up in the sky, feeling so relaxed, or just sitting in your tree cubby house, enjoying the beautiful view. And life is so wonderful, and you feel so healthy and calm and relaxed, and nothing can faze you. And you have boundless energy, and your body and mind are in total unison, totally relaxed and healthy. And just like you can look forward to going on a long, relaxing journey, safely leaving any troubles behind, just floating in the air or on a cloud, you can take what was previously considered a flight or fight response and reframe it as enjoyable anticipation that something wonderful will happen, where you can easily psych yourself up to feel totally calm and relaxed, without a cool drink or a log fire or an energetic workout, whenever you like. And you can take a deep breath and do that for as long as you like through the long journey of life, and feel comfortable with the years flying by like a breath of fresh air. And that small part of you that has felt stressed in the past is now feeling a healthy anticipation. Or you can change comfortably and permanently, and you can say, "No thanks, I don't stress. I'm so cool I can sit in front of a log fire, relax and feel very comfortable while I'm flying," which is all the time, because you can be in two places at once. And I wonder if you can be comfortable as you imagine yourself, maybe still as a kid, flying into the present, or perhaps a year into the future, or wherever you like. I wonder what you'll see. Perhaps you won't need to remind yourself about the ideas and lessons you learnt as a kid. You've been flying the whole time, very calmly and in full control of your health, and you can enjoy perfect health and not even remember how it started and continued. And when you're ready, you can come back to the present, and you can forget what you don't need to remember, and just do what you need to do to be healthy and happy